I've been a New Hampshire native all my life, but I did not grow up in Keene. I actually grew up about an hour east of Keene in a tiny little town that was called Limeboro with about 1,700 people in it. So when I did make the transition and move out here to Keene, a city of 23,000 people was quite the switch up for me. And I know 23,000 people city does not sound like anything compared to a lot of the bigger cities in America. But for me, it was quite the change going from a tiny little town to this big quote unquote city. So in this video, I'm going to be going over what my experience has been like the past 5 years of living in Keene and kind of give you my personal pros and cons of living in the city, the things I really like about it and the things I could really care less about. So let's dive right in. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Moynihan. I'm a real estate agent and investor based out of Keene, New Hampshire. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest around the area, just feel free to hit me up. I'd be more than happy to help. And if you kind of want to stay up to my day-to-day stuff, just feel free to give my Instagram a follow. But without further ado, let's dive right into the pros and cons of living in Keene, New Hampshire. So just to let you know how the video is going to be going, I'm going to be kind of going back from a pro to a con to a pro to a con. And just kind of give you, again, this is what my experience has been living in Keene. And again, when I'm mentioning some of these reasons why I like it or why I don't, remember that I grew up in a tiny little rural town that, like, some people were like, oh, the one street light we had in town. We didn't even have a street light. Like, we barely even had a little village store is what they called it. Great little store, still there, love going there. But it was a tiny little town. Like, my elementary school class, I think, had 11 kids. My sisters had like 5 or 6, but I think I had 11. I was in a pretty big grade, you know? So it was a tiny town. So keep that in mind when I'm going over these points. So the first pro for me and why I love living here in Keene is the accessibility to stores and the services you need. And it's a really big thing for me because, like, when I grew up in a smaller town, just going to a gym for me, the shortest gym away was like 25 minutes, and that was a pretty expensive one. If I wanted to go to a cheap place like Planet Fitness, that was probably like 45 minutes. So I just went to the more expensive one, but still like 25 minutes to the gym. So being so close to everything within like literally the max amount is like a 10-minute drive to get to any store, gym, or whatever I need. So it's very nice. Like, my gym's like an 8-minute ride, and it would be way faster if there was no stoplights on the way. But I'll take 8 minutes over 25 any day of the week. And then of course there's a bunch of big stores like Walmart, Target, Home Goods, Home Depot, Sierra. I'm just trying to run through them in my head. The ones we also have like Staples, Market Basket, Hannaford's. We have a ton of different stuff. And of course there's like the local grocery stores too, like the Co-op and all that stuff, which is very nice to go to. And of course for all the foodies, the city in town has a bunch of good, like, actually small business, locally owned places that are great to go to. But for more like the fast food type stuff, you got the McDonald's, Wendy's, Chipotle, Panera, coffee shops. You got like Dunkin', Starbucks, Aroma Joe's. And then there's also locally owned coffee shops that I personally like going to better because, hey, if I'm going to be spending my money, I'd rather keep it local and keep it with the small businesses. But that's just me and my personal preference. The point of the matter is, there's a lot of different options around here within like 10 minutes. So it's awesome. And the first negative I have is going to be the biggest one. I didn't want to put it at the end and make you wait. So the biggest negative I have with living in Keene is property taxes. Now, I'm going to keep it completely honest with you. Throughout all of New Hampshire, property taxes are high. But the reason being is because we don't have state sales tax or state income tax. So they really hit us hard on the property tax, which honestly, if you were probably to like look at people who do have sales tax and income tax compared to their property taxes, I feel like everything probably evens out pretty dang close in the long run. But it's actually nice going to the store and paying the actual price and not having to worry about the tax put on at the end. Because even going to Mass of Vermont, it always catches me off guard because I never think about that growing up in New Hampshire. But specifically, Keene does have a little bit higher tax rate than some of the surrounding towns around me. So, of course, it stinks a little bit, but it's also because there's a lot of different amenities, a lot more roads. I think one of the reasons also is like the education with Keene State College in here and all that stuff. And my next pro is a weird one, and you're probably going to be like, what the heck? That's kind of strange, but it's winters. And the reason I'm saying winters are a pro is probably not the reason you're thinking. Yes, it is super nice when Keene, the city of Keene, puts up they bring in a big Christmas tree, put up the Christmas tree, do an annual tree lighting, have like a bunch of celebrations. That all is super great. But the reason I really like it is because for some reason, Keene is like almost in a bowl around, and like all the other towns kind of surrounded are like a little bit higher in elevation. So for some reason, it seems like we always get less snow than the surrounding towns, which is really nice when you're in town and driving and stuff. You don't have to worry about it that much. But like I used to be a delivery driver, so I had to go kind of everywhere. I'd go into Vermont, up north, and all that type of stuff. So like you go into work, be like, all right, well, got to go out. Doesn't really matter what the weather's like. I got to go deliver the parts. So you'd be like, oh, we're in good shape today. We only got an inch or two of snow. Perfect. You drive like literally right outside Keene city limits, and it's like double or triple the amount of snow. Very weird, but it's nice being in the middle of it because you don't have to shovel as much. It's just easier to get around, and the city does a pretty well job of actually like keeping up with all the snow and snow removal. I will say last year they were lacking a little bit on the sidewalks, but that's also because we got some big snowstorms out of nowhere last year. So I don't blame them on that one. And the next negative, it's actually like kind of becoming a pro, and it's growing on me in the past 5 years I've lived out here, and that is Rotaries. For some reason, Rotaries are like an obsession for the city of Keene. They absolutely love them. Like if I was a traffic light, I'd be pretty worried because you're probably going to get replaced. They don't like traffic lights. They love freaking Rotaries, which the reason I said it's becoming a pro is because it's growing on me. They really do speed up traffic. But if you're kind of like new to them and never really used them before, you're probably going to hate them at first and get into some close, oh my goodness, I'm surprised I didn't get in an accident moments, because if you don't know what you're doing in them, a lot of people get very sketchy, and sometimes it's close calls, a lot of horn honking. But once you get used to them and become a local, you'll be loving them because they really do speed up traffic and keep all this stuff moving very nicely. And my last pro, I'm going to keep it at 3 pros and 3 negatives just so this video doesn't become a movie. And my last pro is going to be real estate prices in general. It's very nice. It's probably like if you want to be on the southern part of New Hampshire, like bordering Mass kind of area where more of the population of New Hampshire is, because the higher you get north, the less densely populated you get typically. And if you want to be on that southern area, Keene is probably one of the bigger cities on the southern part for reasonably priced homes. Like the county that we're in, Cheshire County, their median sales price year to date is like $336,000 for a regular house. If you go one county over to Hillsborough County, which it does have the biggest city in New Hampshire, which is Manchester included in that, which does raise the price. But for their median sales price year to date is $475,000. So it's literally over $100,000 more for the average house, just one county over. So over here is still pretty affordable, which is very great to see. And that kind of applies with investors too. So if you're looking to invest around the area, this is a pretty good investor market just because you have a couple different industries in Keene. So like you have nursing, you have the college, you have long-term rentals. You got a lot of options with the same type of properties, which is very attractive to some investors. And again, your purchase price is going to be a lot lower, and the rental prices aren't as different as like the home prices. And my last negative, this one is truly a personal preference. Like some people, this will not matter at all to, and that is location. And the reason being is just like in relation to New Hampshire, because for example, with me being a real estate agent, I am licensed only in New Hampshire. So a lot of the places I cover, I have to drive pretty far to get to because I'm literally like in the left corner. So everything else is out. So I have to drive a lot, which isn't bad. I can always relocate if I want to, but I like it out here in Keene. But again, this is really kind of a personal thing. On the other side of the coin, you can look at it that it's really nice that you're about 20-25 minutes to both Mass and Vermont. You're super close because you're in the corner of the bottom of the state. So it's nice in that aspect. But for me personally, it kind of stinks just because I have to do more driving. But that kind of wraps up my biggest takeaways and the 3 pros and 3 cons I've had and experience living in Keene, New Hampshire the past 5 years of my life. Again, the city has grown on me. I didn't love it at first, but it is really nice having everything super close to you. And again, my downsides are just kind of personal preferences, like certain things that are specific in my situation, like my family's like an hour away or so I'm always having to do some driving. But again, that's on me. If you're looking to move to the area and like relocate to New Hampshire, I think Keene's a great spot to look into. And even if you don't land in Keene, you might really fall in love with one of the surrounding towns because 1, you might find cheaper property taxes, which is nice. And 2, you'll be close to all the Keene amenities, but you'll be able to get maybe a little bit more land, a little bit cheaper of a house if you're looking on the surrounding areas. But I hope this video added some value to you, maybe taught you some things about Keene that you didn't really know. And if you have any questions about the video, drop them below in the comments. But again, my name is Shane Moynihan. I'm a real estate agent and investor based out of here, Keene, New Hampshire. And if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, just feel free to hit me up. And again, if you want to kind of see more day-to-day stuff, posting on stories, reels, more short-form content, give my Instagram a follow and you won't regret it. Make sure to give this a like and subscribe, but I'll catch you next week.